And the new technique is putting a photograph underneath the jelly plate because it's see-through and drawing the outlines on top. So using the jelly plate like a piece of tracing paper, um, which is a technique that I do when I do my lino cuts out of old photographs. I trace with tracing paper and then I transfer the drawing to the lino plate and then I carve the plate. Well, this time I'm going to just trace directly onto the jelly plate and then use the backgrounds that I've created to lift off the tracing. And I'm excited because I'm also going to be using the Sharpie markers to do that tracing. And I just love having a new use for an old tool. It's really fun. So I'll let you know how that turns out. I'm going to be using the photograph of Olga and Yvonne, which is my great grandmother on my mother's side, and her sister, her older sister. And Yvonne, I didn't know this until I got the photograph. But Yvonne, my actual great grandmother, had a lame foot, and she was a little bit disabled. And her sister Olga always took good care of her, and that really is apparent in the photograph. It's really beautiful, I find. The expression between the two and the love is very clear. And then Yvonne grew up and was married, and she was a seamstress, and she was very, very, very talented at her task, her métier. And she didn't have a happy marriage. My great grandfather was a womanizer, and they spent years separated and then came back together, and they finished up in their old age together, but kind of bickering at each other. So, But I met her in the flesh before she passed away. I met him as well. And, they spent their whole lives in France, obviously. Um, and I went there once when I was about 15, almost 15, 14 turning 15, I think, or 15 turning 16, something like that. And my mother was so embarrassed to bring me because I had just shaved my head. So, and the reason I had shaved my head was because I had a revelatory dream or a vision in my dream that that prompted me to want to become a Buddhist nun. And so I spontaneously shaved my head and dressed in orange. Anyways, I embarrassed my mom because during the Second World War, Yvonne and my great-grandfather, her husband, were very active in the French resistance. And they put their lives on the line many times, and there's lots of stories that I will one day tell you. And after the war, the women who had been collaborating or sleeping with the enemy, they had their heads shaved in shame. They were publicly shamed and paraded through the streets with their shaved heads as punishment for that. And so my act of freedom and renunciation was going to be seen in a different light. Of course, I was totally unaware of this, right? Anyway, I went, and Yvonne didn't bat an eye, and she showed me all her sewing materials, and we talked as best we could, and I tried to understand her, and it was lovely. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I got a chance to meet her before she passed. And yeah, so that's the story behind that, and I'll be working on that image today. And when I'm all done, I will show it to you. All right, bye now. Have a great one. Love you. Bye.